Welcome, my friends, to a place where we share inspiration and positivity. It's a pleasure to have you join us as we uncover the secrets of the Holocaust in Estonia. The Holocaust in Estonia refers to the Nazi crimes during the 1941-1944 occupation of Estonia by Nazi Germany. Prior to the war, there were approximately 4,300 Estonian Jews. During the 1940-1941 Soviet occupation of Estonia, about 10% of the Jewish population was deported to Siberia, along with other Estonians. Following the Axis invasion in 1941, approximately 75% of Estonian Jews, aware of the fate that awaited them from Nazi Germany, fled eastward into Russia and other parts of the Soviet Union. Virtually all of those Jews who remained, between 950 and 1,000 people, were murdered by German units such as Einsatzgruppe and the local collaborators before the end of 1941. The Romani people in Estonia were also murdered and enslaved by the Nazi German occupiers and their collaborators. The Nazi German occupation authorities also killed around 6,000 ethnic Estonians and 1,000 ethnic Russians in Estonia, either on the basis that they were communists or communist sympathizers. In addition, around 15,000 Soviet prisoners of war and Jews from other parts of Europe were killed in Estonia during the German occupation. Get ready to immerse yourself in the world of Jewish life pre-Holocaust as we examine its impact and relevance. Prior to World War II, Jewish life flourished in Estonia, with the level of cultural autonomy accorded being the most extensive in all of Europe, giving full control of education and other aspects of cultural life to the local Jewish population. In 1936, the British-based Jewish newspaper The Jewish Chronicle reported that Estonia is the only country in Eastern Europe where neither the government nor the people practice any discrimination against Jews, and where Jews are left in peace and are allowed to lead a free and unmolested life and fashion it in accord with their national and cultural principles. With our foundation established, it's time to explore murder of Jewish population and its relevance to our overarching theme. Roundups and murders of the remaining Jews began immediately as the first stage of general Ost, which would require the removal of 50% of Estonians. Undertaken by the extermination squad Einsatzkommando Sonderkommando under Martin Sandberger, part of Einsatzgruppe led by Walter Storiker, who followed the arrival of the first German troops on July 7, 1941. Arrests and executions continued as the Germans, with the assistance of local collaborators, advanced through Estonia. Estonia became a part of the Reichskommissariat Ostland. A Sicherheitspolizei security police was established for internal security under the leadership of Ein Irvin Meyer in 1942. Estonia was declared Judenfrei quite early by the German occupation regime at the Wannsee Conference. The Jews who had remained in Estonia, 929 according to the most recent calculation, were murdered. Fewer than a dozen Estonian Jews are known to have survived the war in Estonia. The spotlight now falls on German policy toward the Jews in Estonia as we delve deeper into its details. The Estonian state archives contain death certificates and lists of Jews shot dated July, August, and early September 1941. For example, the official death certificate of Ruben Teitelbaum, born in Topper on January 17, 1907, states laconically in a form with item 7 already printed with only the date left blank, 7. By a decision of the Sicherheitspolizei on September 4, 1941, condemned to death, with the decision being carried out the same day in Tallinn. Teitelbaum's crime was being a Jew and thus constituting a threat to the public order. On September 11, 1941, an article entitled Judith Selgel, a Jewish star on the back, appeared in the Estonian mass circulation newspaper Postens. It stated that Dr. Otto Heinrich Drexler, the High Commissioner of Ostland, had proclaimed ordinances in accordance with which all Jewish residents of Ostland from that day onward had to wear visible yellow six-pointed Star of David at least 10 centimeters in diameter on the left side of their chest and back. On the same day, regulations issued by the Sicherheitspolizei were delivered to all local police departments proclaiming that the Nuremberg laws were in force in Ostland, defining who is a Jew and what Jews could and could not do. Jews were prohibited from changing their place of residence, walking along the sidewalk, using any means of transportation, going to theaters, museums, cinema, or school. The professions of lawyer, physician, notary, banker, or real estate agent were declared closed to Jews, as was the occupation of street hawker. The regulations also declared that the property and homes of Jewish residents were to be confiscated. The regulations emphasized that work to this end was to be begun as soon as possible, and that lists of Jews, their addresses, and their property were to be completed by the police by September 20, 1941. These regulations also provided for the establishment of a concentration camp near the southeastern Estonian city of Tartu. A later decision provided for the construction of a Jewish ghetto near the town of Harku, but this was never built, a small concentration camp being built there instead. The Estonian state archives contain material pertinent to the cases of about 450 Estonian Jews. They were typically arrested either at home or in the street, taken to the local police station, and charged with the crime of being Jews. They were either shot outright or sent to concentration camp and shot later. An Estonian woman, East, South, describes the arrest of her Jewish husband as follows. Now it's time to shift gears and explore foreign Jews. After the German invasion of Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, it was the intention of the Nazi government to use the three Baltic countries as one of their main areas of mass genocide. Consequently, Jews from countries outside the Baltics were deported there to be killed. An estimated 10,000 Jews were killed in Estonia after having been deported to camps there from elsewhere in Eastern Europe. The Nazi regime also established 22 concentration camps in occupied Estonian territory for foreign Jews, where they would be used as slave laborers. The largest, LIIVA concentration camp, served as a transit camp and processed 20,000 Jews from Latvia and the Lithuanian ghettos. Usually able-bodied men were selected to work in the oil shale mines in northeastern Estonia. Women, children, and old people were killed on arrival. At least 2 trainloads of Central European Jews were deported to Estonia and were killed on arrival at the KALEVI LIIVA site near Jõhvi concentration camp. With the groundwork laid, let's now examine more of foreign Jews at KALEVI LIIVA and its connections to our previous discussions. According to testimony of the survivors, at least 2 transports with about Central European Jews arrived at the railway station at Roosiku, one from Theresienstadt with Czechoslovakian Jews and one from Berlin with German citizens. Brown people were immediately taken to an execution site at the KALEVI LIIVA sand dunes and shot. About 450 people were selected for work at the Jõhvi concentration camp. Transport B from Theresienstadt arrived at the Roosiku station on September 5, 1942, after a 5-day trip. According to testimony given to Soviet authorities by Rolf Gerets, one of the accused at the 1961 war crimes trials in USSR, 8 busloads of Estonian auxiliary police had arrived from Tallinn. The selection process was supervised by Ain Ervin Meer, Chief of Security Police in Estonia. Those transportees not selected for slave labor were sent by bus to a killing site near the camp. Later the police, in teams of 6 to 8 men, killed the Jews by machine gun fire. During later investigations, however, some guards of camp denied the participation of police and said that executions were done by camp personnel. On the first day, a total of 900 people were murdered in this way. Gerets testifies that he had fired a pistol at a victim who was still making noises in the pile of bodies. The whole operation was directed by SS commanders Heinrich Bergmann and Julius Gies. Few witnesses pointed out Heinrich Bergmann as the key figure behind the extermination of Estonian gypsies. In the case of B, the only ones chosen for labor and to survive the war were a small group of young women who were taken through a series of concentration camps in Estonia, Poland and Germany to Bergen-Belsen, where they were liberated. Camp Commandant Locke used the women as sex slaves, killing many after they had outlived their usefulness. A number of foreign witnesses were heard at the post-war trials in Soviet-occupied Estonia, including 5 women who had been transported on B from Theresienstadt. According to witness testimony, the accused Mir, Gerets and Vike actively participated in mass killings and other crimes that were perpetrated by the Nazi invaders in Estonia. In accordance with the Nazi racial theory, the Sicherheitspolizei and Sicherheitsdienst were instructed to exterminate the Jews and Gypsies. To that end, during August and September of 1941, Mir and his collaborators set up a death camp at Gyula, 30 kilometers from Tallinn. Mir put Alexander Locke in charge of the camp. Rolf Gerets was appointed his deputy. On 5 September 1942, a train with approximately 1,500 Czechoslovak citizens arrived at the Rossica railway station. Mir, Locke and Gerets personally selected who of them should be executed and who should be moved to the Gyula death camp. More than 1,000 people, mostly children, the old, and the infirm, were transported to a wasteland at KALEVI LIIVA, where they were executed in a special pit. In mid-September, the second troop train with 1,500 prisoners arrived at the railway station from Germany. Mir, Locke, and Gerets selected another 1,000 victims, who were then condemned by them to extermination. This group of prisoners, which included nursing women and their newborn babies, were transported to KALEVI LIIVA where they were killed. In March 1943, the personnel of the KALEVI LIIVA camp executed about 50 Romani people, half of whom were under 5 years of age. Also were executed 60 Roma children of school age. As we progress, let's zoom in on Romani people and examine its role in shaping our overall narrative. A few witnesses pointed out Heinrich Bergmann as the key figure behind the extermination of Estonian Roma people. In this section, we'll be peeling back the layers of Estonian collaboration to reveal its true essence. Units of the STO-Mokate's Estonian Home Guard, approximately 1,000 to 1,200 men, were directly involved in criminal acts, taking part in the roundup of 200 Roma people and 950 Jews. The final acts of liquidating the camps, such as Kluge, which involved the mass shooting of roughly 2,000 prisoners, was facilitated by members of the 287th Police Battalion. Survivors report that, during these last days before liberation, when Jewish slave laborers were visible, the Estonian population in part attempted to help the Jews by providing food and other types of assistance. Let's now turn our gaze towards war crimes trials and explore the fascinating connections it has to offer. 4 Estonians deemed most responsible for the murders at KALEVI LIIVA were accused at the war crimes trials in 1961. 2 were later executed, while the Soviet occupation authorities were unable to press charges against the other 2 due to the fact that they lived in exile. There have been 7 known ethnic Estonians: Rolf Gerets, Ein Erwin Mir, Jon Vike, Juhan Jurist, Carl Linus, Alexander Locke and Erwin Vix, who have faced trials for crimes against humanity committed during the Nazi occupation in Estonia. The accused were charged with murdering up to 5,000 German and Czechoslovakian Jews and Romani people near the KALEVI LIIVA concentration camp in. Ein Erwin Mir, commander of the Estonian Security Police Group B of the Sicherheitspolizei under the Estonian self-administration, was tried in absentia. Before the trial, Mir had been an active member of the Estonian community in England, contributing to Estonian language publications. At the time of the trial, however, he was being held in custody in England, having been accused of murder. He was never deported and died a free man in England in 1969. Rolf Gerets, the deputy commandant at the Gyula camp. Jon Vike, Jan Vike, Ian Vike, a guard at the Gyula labor camp, out of the hundreds of Estonian camp guards and police, was singled out for prosecution due to his particular brutality. Witnesses testified that he would throw small children into the air and shoot them. He did not deny the charge. A fourth accused, Camp Commandant Alexander Locke, was discovered living in Canada but committed suicide before he could be brought to trial. In January 1962, another trial was held in Tartu. Jew and jurist Karl Linus and Erwin Vicks were accused of murdering 12,000 civilians in the Tartu concentration camp. As we transition, let's shed light on number of victims and its relevance to our ongoing exploration. Soviet Estonian-era sources estimate the total number of Soviet citizens and foreigners to be murdered in Nazi-occupied Estonian Soviet Socialist Republic to be 125,000. The bulk of this number consists Jews from Central and Western Europe and Soviet prisoners of war killed or starved to death in prisoner of war camps on Estonian territory. The Estonian History Commission estimates the total number of victims to be roughly 35,000, consisting of the following groups: Estonian Jews, about 10,000 foreign Jews, 1,000 Estonian Roma, 7,000 ethnic Estonians, 15,000 Soviet Poles. The number of Estonian Jews killed is less than 1,000. The German Holocaust perpetrators Martin Sandberger and Walter Stoliker cite the numbers 921 and 963 respectively. In 1994, Eugenia Gurin-Louv calculated the exact number to be 929. Now, it's time to shift gears and explore modern memorials. Since the reestablishment of the Estonian independence, markers were put in place for the 60th anniversary of the mass executions that were carried out at the LIIVA, Vaivara and Kluga KALEVI LIIVA camps in September 1944. On February 5, 1945 in Berlin, Einmeier founded the LIIVA Badusliet together with SS Obersturmbannführer Harald Riepelu. He was sentenced to the capital punishment during the Holocaust trials in Soviet Estonia but was not extradited by Great Britain and died there in peace. In 2002, the government of the Republic of Estonia decided to officially commemorate the Holocaust. In the same year, the Simon Wiesenthal Center had provided the Estonian government with information on alleged Estonian war criminals, all former members of the 36th Estonian Police Battalion. In August 2018, it was reported that the memorial at KALEVI LIIVA was defaced. Let's now venture into the realm of KZ-AUSSENLAGER and explore the fascinating intricacies it holds. KZ-Vaivara. Kluga. Prepare yourself for an eye-opening discussion on KZ-AUSSENLAGER in the upcoming portion of this video. KZ-Aseri, KZ-Ava, KZ-Allides, KZ-Goldfields, Kotla, KZ-Ilinum, KZ-Ju, KZ-Kresto, Kastela in Veru, Ingria, now in Gachinsky district, KZ-Kivili, KZ-Kaprus, KZ-Kunna, KZ-Kuma, KZ-Lagi, KZ-Kluga, Lodensee. Commandant SS Untersturmführer Wilhelm Wörl. E 1907, D 1966, September 1943, September 1944. There were held 2030 prisoners, most of them the Lithuanian Jews. When the Red Army approached, SS men shot the 500 prisoners on September 19, 1944 and burned most of the bodies. The fewer than 100 prisoners succeeded in surviving by hiding. There is a monument on the location of the concentration camp. KZ Nawa KZ Pankiewicza. It was situated at 15 kilometers south of the village of Pankiewicza near the hamlet of Rudva in the former Estonian province of Petserimaa. Since 1945, Russia occupies a large part of this province, including Rudva. The camp was established in November 1943. On 11 November that year, 250 prisoners from Kluga arrived. Their accommodations were barracks. Already in January 1944, the camp was shut down and the inmates were relocated to Kube in Latvia near the Estonian border, Petseri and Leninum. Likely the camp was closed after some kind of work was finished. It was affiliated to the Vaivara camp. KZ Nawa Hungerberg KZ Puki in Peeri parish, near Slantsy KZ Revel Lemist. KZ-Saka, KZ-Sonda, KZ-Sarski in Vasknava Parish, KZ-Wivikend, KZ-Lenemesi, Ochdisexst Vrednungs Dirtfrung Debundisens Gigungsitsis 6. DVBEG. Let's now venture into the realm of Arbeits- und Erziehungslehre and explore the fascinating intricacies it holds. AL July August 1942 September 1943 AL Murray AL Rebel. Haku 243 Estonian Romani people were executed in the Haku concentration camp on 27 October 1942. Lausnam AEL Tartu Commandant Karl Linus AEL Turba in Elima. With our curiosity piqued, let's embark on a dedicated exploration of prisons and its fascinating intricacies. Hatsalukurasa Nava in Vestably Street, Petsari Pernu Tartu Valgavru. As we enter this new phase, let's uncover the impact of other concentration camps on our broader topic. Vigatal in Tallinn Isujurvakandi late Slavasolets Lel 1942 May 1943 Rolasitsi in Tallinn, at the end of Turstus Street where was 10 barracks, until 17 September 1944 Barcelona. Remember to follow me on social media for behind-the-scenes content and updates.